Hello, this is Carl Ponto from Squash and Stretch Productions. So this weekend is a huge anniversary for me, probably one of the biggest events in my entire life. And it's 20 years since my brain was exposed to oxygen for the first time, hopefully the only time. Basically, for 7 hours, I was under general anesthetic while some surgeons cut open my scalp, uh, sawed through my forehead, and moved my frontal lobe out of the way to get to the very center of my brain. And after the surgery, it looked like I'd basically been punched by Mike Tyson. Went to like 8 rounds with him, and my eye was swollen. I was all like bruised. Like I never saw actually any pictures of myself in that state, but I knew it looked bad because when people would come visit me in the hospital, they go, "Hey!" Like they couldn't like not have the visceral like, "Oh my gosh, it looks awful" reaction. Um, and so that whole experience and what came after that is just it's been 20 years since that event happened, and so it's something I wanted to talk about. And to kind of preface what's going on here, basically 8 months before that happened, I started to feel kind of off. I had known what my kind of normal health was like because I've been a swimmer my entire life up to that point. And so, but something wasn't quite right. January of 2002, and did a bunch of tests, talked to a bunch of doctors, couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. But by August, I had lost 50 pounds, had sunken cheeks and eyes. I was really pale. Here's actually my high school yearbook photo. And so if you look at some previous ones of me from like the previous year, you can see how much like my cheeks are kind of sunken in. I'm a lot paler. Um, and so by August, I started getting really bad headaches. And so my parents took me for an MRI up in Walnut Creek in California at the Kaiser. And we got this MRI done. And we were waiting around for another appointment when my pediatrician called and said he's going to drive up from Pleasanton to come talk with us. And as we were waiting around, we saw him like walking up with this big envelope in his hands. You could tell he'd been crying, and he brought us into this side meeting room. And I remember I was sitting knee to knee with him, this big U-shaped chair with really high armrests, kind of leaning forward towards him, when he pulled out the results of the MRI and showed me that I had 2 brain tumors. And it's the only time I think I've ever actually been moved by words physically. Like it felt like I got punched in the chest. I actually moved backwards in my chair. And for the next 2 weeks, things didn't seem real because I've never had like the flu or broken any major bones, never been stung by a bee. I'm also pretty sure I've never been bitten by a mosquito. So to get a brain tumor diagnosis at 15 years old was just a complete sucker punch out of nowhere. But I got so much help from friends and family, and my high school was really supportive. They got me a tutor and helped me still graduate on time. And all these people that I knew from around the time were really rose to the occasion and supported me when I needed it most. And it was those connections between family and friends and the medical staff that helped me survive 2 malignant brain tumors. I did get a very good prognosis. Fortunately, they were very treatable. But I did go through 4 rounds of chemo and 20 days of radiation. And so this weekend is basically on the 21st, will be 20 years since I got the MRI results. And my pediatrician told me what was going on. And then the following day is 20 years since that the brain touching air happened with the surgery. So, and the real takeaway for this that I want people to learn from my experience is that it is these sorts of stories about yourself and your experiences and your life, the challenging times when life dropped you to a knee but couldn't keep you down, those are the stories that are worth sharing. And even if they're not as dramatic or traumatic as what I just shared, it's absolutely worth sharing to people and making it part of your business's marketing and make it part of your personal brand, because it's those sort of stories that really create the strong relationships with people, because it takes vulnerability to share that sort of stuff about yourself. And when people show that they've seen, heard, and understand you, it helps you build trust with them. And then when they share their own stories about what they do, what like they've been through, then you show you've seen, heard, and understand them and show empathy for them. Then you build that trust, that deep relationship that leads to the referral, the sale, the business partnership, all those things that I think are missing. Like the strength of relationships I think are missing in the world today by a huge amount. And I think these sorts of stories that everyone has in their lives, everyone's been through challenges and have overcome them to get where they are. It's just part of being human. It's how we kind of build a character, how we kind of learn things, how we define kind of or not necessarily define, but kind of shapes our personalities and who we are in the world. And so don't ignore those stories. You don't have to try and pretend you're awesome all the time. You don't have any troubles, no issues with your life or your business or your health or your family. Sharing those things shows that you're human. And I think the term I like to use, I can't remember where I heard it, was flawsome, where it's not about being perfect. It's about being human, and you have these strengths, and you're awesome, and achieving so much despite all the setbacks you've been through and all the inner turmoil you deal with, imposter syndrome, for example. So as you're going about your day or your week, and you're trying to think about what sort of content you should make for your business, what you should be sharing with people when you're networking, what you should be putting on your about pages for your websites or on LinkedIn or Facebook. Don't just do the standard kind of, here's what I do, here's where I went to school sort of stuff. Put some more of yourself in there with all your beautiful imperfections, all the challenges that you've been through. And those sorts of messages, those sorts of stories are going to be the ones that really attract people to you, because it shows that you are authentic and genuine and a human being, and not just a kind of facade put up by someone to sell something. So that's my story. This is my big anniversary this weekend, and hopefully you guys are all have some good stories you can share with people. And if you have any questions on how to get those stories and format them and tell them effectively and concisely and clearly, please reach out to me. Either send me a direct message on LinkedIn or email me, carl@squashandstretch.net, and let's set up a time to talk. Thanks very much for watching this video, and have a great rest of your week.